Hey there, Crash Course fans! Today we're diving into a pivotal chapter in history, the USA's role in World War II's Pacific Theater, particularly its complex relationship with Japan. Before the bombs fell and battles raged, these two future enemies were on very different paths. The US, though a growing power, maintained an isolationist stance. They wanted to stay out of global conflicts. Japan, on the other hand, was in expansion mode. Driven by militarism and a desire for resources, they set their sights on conquering territory in Asia. This clash of ideologies, expansionism versus isolationism, created a powder keg. Japan saw the US presence in the Pacific, particularly the Philippines, as a threat to its ambitions. The US, though largely unaware of Japan's intentions, was wary of Japan's growing aggression. By the late 1930s, tensions were high, negotiations were failing, and the Pacific was becoming a tinderbox, ready to ignite. And ignite it did. December 7th, 1941, a date forever etched in American memory. On that fateful morning, Japanese forces launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, the home of the US Pacific Fleet. The attack, intended as a preemptive strike to cripple the US Navy, sent shockwaves through the nation. Battleships were sunk, aircraft destroyed, and over 2,400 Americans lost their lives. Pearl Harbor wasn't just a military attack, it was a psychological blow. The US, once hesitant to join the war in Europe, was now fully engaged in a global conflict. The sleeping giant had been awakened. President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed the nation, declaring war on Japan, and famously calling December 7th a date which will live in infamy. The US, united in anger and grief, prepared for a long and costly war against Japan. With the US officially at war with Japan, the Pacific Ocean became a battleground. The US Navy, though initially weakened by Pearl Harbor, was determined to regain control of the Pacific. Their strategy island hopping. This involved capturing strategically important islands held by Japan, using them as stepping stones to get closer to the Japanese mainland. Each island became a fierce battleground, with both sides fighting tooth and nail for every inch of land. From the beaches of Guadalcanal to the jungles of Iwo Jima, American soldiers faced relentless resistance from Japanese forces. These battles were brutal and costly, marked by fierce fighting and heavy casualties on both sides. The island-hopping campaign was a grueling test of American resolve, but it slowly but surely pushed the Japanese back, inching closer to the Japanese mainland. Each victory, though hard-won, in reach of American bombers. The strategic bombing campaign had already inflicted severe damage on Japanese cities, but the resolve to continue fighting remained unbroken. Yet they refused to surrender, determined to fight to the bitter end. The Japanese military and government were prepared to defend their homeland at all costs, even if it meant facing complete annihilation. Facing the prospect of a costly invasion of Japan, President Harry Truman made a fateful decision to use atomic bombs. This decision was influenced by the desire to bring a swift end to the war and to avoid the massive casualties that an invasion would entail. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, instantly killing tens of thousands of people. The city was engulfed in a blinding flash of light, followed by a massive explosion that obliterated everything in its path. 3 days later, another bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, causing further devastation. The second bombing compounded the horror and destruction, leaving the city in ruins and its population decimated. The world watched in horror as the unimaginable destructive power of these new weapons became terrifyingly clear. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki marked a turning point in warfare, demonstrating the catastrophic potential of nuclear weapons. The atomic bombings remain one of the most controversial acts in human history. They sparked the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have since become symbols of peace and the urgent need for nuclear disarmament, with memorials and museums dedicated to preserving the memory of those who perished and advocating for a world free of nuclear weapons. Section 5. A New Japan, the Aftermath and Legacy. The atomic bombings, coupled with the Soviet Union's declaration of war against Japan, marked a turning point in history. The sheer devastation caused by these events was unprecedented and left an indelible mark on the world. Forced by these overwhelming circumstances, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's unconditional surrender on August 15, 1945. This moment was a significant turning point, not just for Japan, but for the entire world. With this announcement, World War II was finally over. The world breathed a collective sigh of relief as the long and brutal conflict came to an end. The United States, now emerging as a global superpower, occupied Japan for 7 years. Under the leadership of General Douglas MacArthur, the U.S. oversaw Japan's reconstruction and transformation into a democratic nation. This period was marked by significant changes and reforms. The Japanese people, devastated by the war, faced a long and arduous road to recovery. They had to rebuild their lives from the ground up, amidst the ruins and the memories of a war that had left deep scars. The war's impact on Japan was profound. The cities lay in ruins, the economy was shattered, and the national psyche was deeply scarred by the horrors of war. The collective trauma was immense and would take years to heal. Their cities lay in ruins, their economy was shattered, and their infrastructure was almost entirely destroyed. The task of rebuilding seemed insurmountable. The psychological impact of the war was equally devastating. The Japanese people were left to grapple with the horrors they had witnessed and endured. The use of atomic bombs left an enduring legacy of fear and uncertainty. The survivors of the atomic bombings faced long-term health issues and the haunting memories of that fateful day. The radiation effects were a constant reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons. Yet from the ashes of defeat, a new Japan emerged. The resilience and determination of the Japanese people shone through as they began the arduous process of rebuilding their nation. With American aid and guidance, the U.S. and Japan, once defined by conflict, evolved into a strong and enduring alliance. Diplomatic efforts and trade agreements fostered a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. Today, the U.S. and Japan share a robust partnership characterized by joint military exercises, economic collaboration, and cultural exchanges. This alliance stands as a testament to the resilience and adaptability of both nations and their commitment to peace and prosperity. Section 6. The Price of Peace. Reflections on War. The story of the USA and Japan in World War II is a complex and often tragic one. It is a tale woven with threads of bravery, sacrifice, and profound loss. The conflict between these two nations was not just a clash of military might, but a collision of ideologies and visions for the future. It's a story of clashing ideologies, unimaginable destruction, and the enduring consequences of war. The landscapes of Europe and Asia were forever altered. Cities turned to ruins, and countless lives were disrupted. The war's impact was felt not only on the battlefields, but also in the hearts and minds of those who lived through it. From the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the events of World War II unfolded with a relentless pace, each moment more harrowing than the last. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a turning point. The psychological scars were as deep as the physical ones, and the journey to healing was long and arduous. As we reflect on this pivotal chapter in history, we must consider the lessons it imparts. The resilience of the human spirit, the importance of international cooperation, and the need for vigilance against the forces that lead to conflict are all crucial takeaways. It's essential to remember the human cost of war. The millions who perished, the families torn apart, and the generations that grew up in the shadow of conflict. Each life lost was a story unfinished, a potential unfulfilled. The cities reduced to rubble, the once vibrant communities turned to ghost towns, stand as silent witnesses to the devastation. The rebuilding process was a testament to human determination and the will to move forward despite overwhelming odds. The enduring scars on the survivors serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of conflict. Their stories, their pain, and their resilience are crucial to understanding the true cost of war. Memorials and commemorations help keep these memories alive, ensuring that future generations do not forget. The story of the USA and Japan in World War II is not just a history lesson. It is a narrative that continues to shape our present and future. The alliances formed, the lessons learned, and the ongoing efforts to maintain peace are all part of this legacy. It's a timeless reminder of the need for peace, understanding, and diplomacy in a world still grappling with the legacies of conflict. As we look to the future, the reflections on war serve as a guide, urging us to strive for a world where such tragedies are never repeated.